This episode is brought to you by Iams Pet Food. When you choose Iams dry dog or cat food, you can see a difference in your pet with your own eyes. Healthy energy in 5 days, healthy digestion in 10 days, and healthy skin and coat in just 25 days. Satisfaction for you and them. Guaranteed or your money back. Feed Iams dry dog or cat food and see a visible difference. Visit iams.com/difference to learn more.
This episode is brought to you by the Weather Channel. What does the Weather Channel app share in common with a personal trainer and a life coach? It's an ally on your quest to wellness. What you do with its insight is up to you. Like running an extra mile when air quality is good, or checking your allergy forecast so not even ragweed can disrupt your chi. It's more than a weather app. What in the weather are you waiting for? Be a force of nature with the Weather Channel app.
It's a Minimalist Monday edition of Optimal Living Daily. Minimalism, tidying up, and the most important benefit behind the less is more movement by Jay and Heather Harrington of lifeandwhim.com. And I'm Justin Malik. Happy Monday and welcome back to Optimal Living Daily, or the OLD podcast, where I read to you from some of the best blogs I can find and get permission from, mostly covering personal development and minimalism on this show. We cover a bunch of other topics in the Optimal Living Daily podcast network. Just search for Optimal Living Daily to find them. But for now, let's get right to our Minimalist Monday post and start optimizing your life. Minimalism, tidying up, and the most important benefit behind the less is more movement by Jay and Heather Harrington of lifeandwhim.com. New shows on Netflix, New York Times best-selling books, donation centers bursting at the seams, photos of neatly rolled garments taking over Instagram, a new verb, condoing, entering the lexicon. In case you haven't noticed, minimalism and the tidying up movement are having a moment. Less is more has gone mainstream. It's not that the idea of living with less and the realization of the attendant benefits is a newly discovered concept. Thousands of years ago, Greek Stoic philosopher Epictetus came to the conclusion that, quote, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants, end quote. It's just that today's culture, or at least some meaningful corner of it, is finally catching on. A journey toward a more minimal life. Our own journey toward a more minimal lifestyle has been marked by fits and starts. 4 years ago, we began the shift toward a life motivated less by accumulation and consumption and more by chasing meaning and purpose. We committed to living more minimally because we knew, or at least thought, that a life with less could lead to more. When we first learned about the concept of minimalism, we were intrigued. The idea of shedding possessions and living lighter appealed to us. So we started boxing up belongings and dropping them off at charitable thrift stores or placing them at the curb for trash pickup. But after a weekend of shedding, we find ourselves back where we started, with a few less things, but without making much of a dent in our desire for broader change. What led us to transformational change and ultimately greater happiness was taking a step back and trying to understand the larger purpose and vision we had for our lives. We focused on the end we had in mind and concluded it could be achieved through the means of minimizing. Minimalism as a means to an end. Consumption requires a trade-off, and its greatest cost is time. The cost of a new coat or a pair of shoes isn't measured only in dollars and cents because it takes time and effort to acquire those dollars and cents. Consuming social media means giving up moments that could be spent doing something more meaningful. Organizing and reorganizing mounds of stuff robs one of the ability to apply mental and physical energy to more productive pursuits. As one of the original minimalist writers, Henry David Thoreau, once wrote, quote, "The cost of a thing is the amount of what I will call life, which is required to be exchanged for it, immediately or in the long run," end quote. In other words, those things that are dominating our time and attention are stifling the one thing we can never replace, which is life. All of this is to say that it's easy to get caught up in the whirlwind of the minimalism movement and miss the bigger picture. And in this case, the big picture is using minimalism as a means to an end to a more fulfilling, intentional, and purposeful life, rather than treating it as an end in itself. In my personal experience, I found that merely focusing on the tactic of minimalism without a larger purpose in mind makes it hard to stick with it. Just as calorie counting diets measured only by the restriction of calories rarely work, minimalism quests marked only by the dispossession of objects are hard to sustain. It's difficult to stay motivated to stick with the means without an end in mind that lights you up inside. Having a larger purpose is what helps you to persevere through challenges, and minimizing one's lifestyle in the face of societal pressures to do otherwise certainly qualifies as a challenge. By no means are we minimalists in the purest sense. We still have too much stuff, get caught up in keeping up with the Joneses, and succumb to temptation despite knowing better. But for the last several years, with a more clearly defined mission in mind, every time we have fallen down, we've been able to get up and get back on track, happier and ready for what's next. For us, being more minimal-minded allows us to elevate and prioritize experiences over things. Having less stuff in our home enables us to spend more time outside in nature. Our minds are less encumbered, so we have more capacity to pursue creative endeavors that, while not always financially remunerative, bring us great contentment. That said, it's not always easy because the siren song of more is seductive. If you're not careful, more stuff, more commitments, and more mental clutter can easily seep back in. If you're trying to focus on less, there's lots of cultural messaging that will suggest to you that your priorities are misplaced and you're missing out on the false promises of largesse. Having endured some of the tug and pull of more and less, we firmly determined that yes, less is more. We're girded by the knowledge born of experience that the path to fulfillment lies in doing the hard things. With a purpose in mind, you can learn to love the process of minimalism, even if it's difficult at times. As Fyodor Dostoevsky once wrote, quote, "The mystery of human existence lies not in just staying alive, but in finding something to live for," end quote. Minimalism is not a magical cure-all. An organized sock drawer doesn't scale beyond fleeting satisfaction. But for those who have a deeper meaning in mind for their lives and want to pursue a mission in life that is challenging and fulfilling, following the foundational principles of minimalism is a beneficial first step toward finding life's purpose. Happiness is not guaranteed, it's hard-won. And the struggle for happiness begins inside with a commitment to be unrelenting in directing your actions in alignment with your life's purpose. You just listened to the post titled Minimalism, Tidying Up, and the Most Important Benefit Behind the Less is More movement by Jay and Heather Harrington of lifeandwhim.com. And I'll be right back with my commentary. Good taste is easy to spot, but hard to pin down. You know it when you see it. With your car, you want something sophisticated and daring, yet classic, approachable, but with an air of opulence. That's where the Range Rover Evoque comes in. The Range Rover Evoque is charisma in motion, art and craft in equal measure. Its exterior is a quietly bold expression of Range Rover DNA with a floating roof, continuous waistline, and three-dimensional grille that give it a captivating character. Inside, you'll find a calm, minimalist cabin anchored by a tactile gear shifter where clean lines, sumptuous materials, and advanced technology come together. Make a statement in the Range Rover Evoque. This elegant SUV elevates every drive, offering a new dimension of refinement and luxury. Whether you prefer a modern aesthetic or a warmer, authentic appearance, the Evoque's interior can be tailored to your taste. Ready to experience sophisticated design and premium materials in motion? Explore the Range Rover Evoque at LandRoverUSA.com.
At Sierra, discover top workout gear at incredible prices, which might lead to another discovery. Your headphones haven't been connected this whole time. Awkward. Discover top brands at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
Thank you to Jay and Heather. I really like that part where they said the big picture is using minimalism as a means to an end to a more fulfilling, intentional, and purposeful life, rather than treating it as an end in itself. Because we often get stuck in that way of thinking. Once I minimize down to 1,000 items, or 500 or even 100 like some extreme minimalists, then I will have made it. I'll be an official minimalist and things will be great. But we know deep down it doesn't work that way. The larger purpose and big picture are more important, not the details of how many items we have. So hopefully that's inspirational for you. Have a great start to your week. Thank you for being here and listening to me and for subscribing to the show. I'll be back tomorrow reading to you where your optimal life awaits.